Hello, this is Sabine Minsky and welcome to Your Spirited Life. Today I am joined by Jenny Garrett. She is a leadership and executive coach, author of the recently published Rocking Your Role, How to Guide Female Breadwinners to Success. And she has been named by LinkedIn as one of the top 10 power women in the UK. Thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem. I'm delighted to be here, Sabine. Thank you for inviting me.
Sure. So, can you share some of your background with us? How did you come to become an executive and leadership coach?
Okay. Well, it's interesting how it all happened, and I'm sure the same for other people's journeys, really. I was working in marketing, so totally unrelated, became pregnant with my little daughter and decided to change organizations. I found an organization very close to home, and they were a business school, very focused on leadership. I was very happy there, working close to home, doing the work I love. And a colleague who's now a really good friend just came into my office and said, "Where next? What are you going to do with your life?" And I thought I was here. I thought I was doing something with my life. And she said, "No, you can get a bigger team, a bigger budget elsewhere, or you can start training people in marketing." And neither of those things appealed to me. So then she suggested, "What about coaching? Faculty come into your office every day, they're motivated, they come away with actions." So I thought, oh, that's a good idea. Why don't I attend a course? It will be on my CV, even if it's something I don't end up loving. And I found the course personally and professionally transformational. It just made me look at my life very differently. I saw the power of having these conversations, these really important conversations to change lives, and decided that's what I wanted to do. And I couldn't do it straight away. My organization they supported me to do a little bit of coaching on their programs, but not to have it as a full-time job. So after having some coaching myself, I actually decided to go down to part-time and start building a coaching business, seeing if people would pay me, seeing if I actually really did enjoy it. I set myself a bit of a target and was within a year completely freelance. And that's over 11 years ago now. And it's grown and developed from me to having a team, to leadership development, as well as coaching and much more.
Fantastic. So for you, it was a very rapid growth, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was a rapid sort of finding of the thing I wanted to do. Suddenly it appeared to me, and when I found it, I just wanted to move quickly. Yes, I didn't want to be stuck doing a job I didn't love anymore when I had found the thing I wanted to do.
What was, apart from that conversation with your friend, or colleague and friend, what were some of the indications for you that you wanted, you had the strength to step into entrepreneurship, coaching, building your own business? That's a step that's often so difficult for women to, anyone, but women in particular, to dare to go through.
Yeah, I'm not sure I knew. In hindsight, you can say, "Oh, this happened and that happened." Sure. But at the time, I must admit, I wasn't sure about entrepreneurship. I wasn't sure about going out alone. I didn't have a history of people around me who had done it. And, every recommendation when I spoke to people, they said, "You've got a pension, you've got a stable job, stay where you are." It was more, I wanted to do this work and I wanted to find a way to do it. And the joy was that because I went part-time, I had set myself a target, which was I was going to work 4 days a week full-time and then 1 day a week on the business. And I said, when the 1 day a week gives me the same amount of money as the 4 days a week, then actually it's not a jump, it's not a leap, it's just a step. And that's what I did. I was able to secure a contract that meant I had around 6 months work. I knew I had certain amount of days for 6 months, which gave me that strength really to say, okay, you're not jumping into the unknown, you're jumping into something that's a little bit known. If you can get one client, I'm sure you can get some more. So it was very gradual for me. I didn't take a huge leap and not know. It was much more, I'll take a little step to part-time. I'll see if people will pay me. If that, I've got a contract for 6 months, that means that it's not such a complete step into the unknown. And I would say I'm a cautious person. I think people think you have to be a huge risk taker to run your own business. I don't think I am. I think I do follow the things I love, and I want to do the work that's, following my passion, but I'm not a huge risk taker. And yeah, maybe I'm entrepreneurial now, but I would say I wasn't born entrepreneurial.
Okay, that can actually be very reassuring for a lot of women among our listeners who might be in the first steps of becoming an entrepreneur, often a solopreneur,
Mm.
and hesitant. Do I have what it takes?
Mm.
How do you have a lot of women solopreneurs in your practice as a coach?
Yes, I do. I get lots of women coming to me because I provide some talks sometimes at women's events who are, women who want to start a business events. And I have an online program where women can join and be inspired and push themselves. And a lot of those women are either women in transition, leaving corporate jobs to start their own business, or women who are solopreneurs. And I think you're absolutely right. It can be really tough to make that decision, to push yourself forward, to stay motivated, and it takes courage, I think, to stick to your guns, to say, this is me and this is what I'm going to do, even when there are no customers, when the phone's not ringing, when no one gets your idea, all of those things. And for me, one of the things I always say to them is persistence and focus are the things that you need. You need to be persistent when people aren't, they don't get it, and they don't understand your journey. And you need to be consistent, because I think if you persevere with your idea, even when the phone's not ringing, even when, you're not making any money, it will come together, because it takes a while for people to believe you, to believe in you, and to come to you when they need you. So persistence and focus, those are the two things.
That's a great start. In terms of how to build up you just said that people won't believe in you and you should continue being persistent with that. Do you often feel that, or find that some of your clients are lacking some belief in themselves? Is that also a trait?
Yeah, I think there is a couple of things. There's a self-belief and there's the putting yourself out there, both of those things. So it's if you do believe in yourself, it's, oh my gosh, I don't really want to put myself out there to get criticism, or for people to say, well, who does she think she is, saying that she's the best coach or the best pottery maker or the best florist or whatever, so there's sort of holding yourself back because you don't want criticism. And there's also, how do I dare put myself out there in the first place? So both of those things are issues. I always I have a few ways I help clients to help them put themselves forward. And the first is, sometimes I say, let's blow it up out of all proportion. So if they're scared of, someone might have asked them to talk about their business, they might have to go to a networking event and do 30 seconds about their business and say, well, I couldn't possibly do that. Well, what's the worst that can happen? You could mumble, you could stumble over your words, you could swear by accident, you could faint, these are the worst things that can happen. It's really unlikely. The worst that can happen is really that you might do a lackluster introduction to yourself, but that's about it. So I help people sometimes to blow it up out of proportion and then think, well, you know what, the worst's not going to happen. I can form a sentence about my business. So sometimes I say that to them. The other things I do is say, be paradoxical, be the opposite, of what you believe you are. So if I say I'm shy, well, I'm going to go into that networking event and be outgoing today. If I wouldn't put my hand up and I'd be last, well, I'm going to be the first person to put my hand up and volunteer. So actually act the opposite of how you would normally, and just try that. So that's a good way to shake yourself up if, you're lacking a bit of self-belief. And the other thing I often say is, sometimes if you want to change how you think about yourself, you need to change your behavior. So actually, sometimes we're in a bit of a habit of thinking, and we're also in a bit of habit of behaving as well. So actually, if you want to change how you think, it's quite good to shake up your routine. Maybe you instead of getting the bus, you get the train. Instead of walking, you cycle. Instead of brushing your teeth first in the morning, you have your breakfast and then brush your teeth. And that behavioral change can start to help you change how you think as well. So those are a few things I kind of, if you're changing your self-belief and changing your behavior, those are things you can do to push yourself out there a little bit.
So you've been touching upon a lot of limiting beliefs that we might have inside and behaviors. And there is actually some research showing that if we if we break these behaviors through something as simple as what you said of switching around our routine to go to work or whatever, that it really helps to rewire in new ways our brain, and it opens up possibilities to us. I really love that. It can be as simple as those little changes, right?
Absolutely.
As a start.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have to be complicated. I think, at the beginning of the year, people always have New Year's resolutions, and they have big things. I want to lose 2 stone. I want to run a marathon. You've got to start small. And then when we start small, we achieve. And when we achieve, we can achieve more. But if we set our sights, those things too big, the step is too high, then we fail at the first hurdle and we don't continue. So start small. Small behavioral change is the best way.
Mm-hmm. Now, in your years of coaching, have you seen a trend towards more women wanting to go into entrepreneurship? Has there been like an evolution, and what do you feel is at the heart of that?
There is a real movement. You're absolutely right, and I think it's a real shame for organisations that lots of women are opting out and now running their own business because they're missing out on so much wonderful talent. They really are. I think there are a number of reasons. I think workplaces are often very male in culture, not just in the presence of men, and that means sometimes if you have children, or if you even want any flexibility, it can be tough. Drinks after work, breakfast meetings, they're not always conducive to having the balance that you want in life. Plus the fact that sometimes women are not always taken seriously in the workplace. We talk differently, we behave differently, and that difference isn't always appreciated. So, we've hit that glass ceiling, and some people fight through it. Well done to them, but some people just think, what, I can take control of my destiny and I can make a difference in the way that I want to do it. And those women become entrepreneurs. I also think just women are more educated now, and they realize they can run businesses. They can do it. So why not try it? And I think the barriers to entry to be a business person are pretty low now. It's not that difficult. I did a talk in Spain a year or so ago, and you start paying taxes before your business has made any money in Spain. That's a real obstacle to running a business. But in the UK, that you don't make any money, you don't pay any tax, which is a really good thing. So there's just flexibility, family life, using your skills to their best potential. There's just so much, and when you see other women doing it, I think you also want to do it too.
I think you touched on something important of role models. When you started off, did you have role models, and how do you invite women to start believing in themselves and constructing around, who am I looking up to? What do I want to emulate while still having my own energy and my own path that I'm creating?
Yeah, I don't know if I had I didn't think I had business role models, if I'm honest, when I first started. But I definitely did a lot of networking. I still do network, but I did a lot of networking. And especially when there were panels of women talking about their experience, I was really interested in that. In honesty, what's most interesting is always the failure and the vulnerability more than the success for me. It's, when didn't it go well? What was really tough? I think that's what people want to know more than anything. They want to know that people can get through the hard times and come out the other side. And I also joined networks of like-minded entrepreneurs so that we could share as well sort of our roller coaster life that is running your own business. And I won a client, I lost a client, I made 100 calls and no one responded to, I made one call and they wanted me, so all of those things we were able to share honestly our experience. And I also have always had a coach, and I've sneakily got mentors. I get mentors not by not telling them they're mentors. So if I meet someone who really inspires me, I'll ask them for a coffee and, try to find some way I can help them, and then maybe have quarterly coffees with them in which I can get some, ask questions, share my knowledge, get some knowledge from them. So I have mentors, but they usually don't know. They just think we're just meeting for them.
I think you're touching upon something really important, maybe even more so for women, is the sense of community, of realizing that we can build around our inspiration. And you even touched at the very beginning about how your colleague and friend had seen in you your potential, and that's something that maybe we stay a little bit too isolated. Do you see that among your clients a lot, and
Yeah,
you invite them to expand their network in the ways?
I think you're making it's so important that you don't stay isolated. And if you're a solopreneur, it can be very isolating. You just get up, you're working from home maybe, so you get up, you do your work, and then you do whatever you do in the evening, and you could see no one for days, depending on what sort of business you have. So the actual pushing yourself to go out, meet people, gain new ideas, maybe even collaborate with some other businesses. It's really, really important. And I think, if you think about a flower or a seed, we need water, we need soil, we need that to come in to help us grow, and if we don't have that, we'll shrivel up and die. So that's how I think about it. What can I have to water and nourish me in order to keep me flowering? And I think entrepreneurs need to think about that. It's really easy to say, too busy, I've got so much to do, I can't get out, I can't see people, I can't have a coffee. But actually, that stopping and talking can give you so much more nourishment than you expect. So I highly recommend networking, or even just having one-to-one meetings with people, and scheduling those in as just as important as the work you do.
Now, can you tell us a little bit what brought you to your book, Rocking Your Role? What was the impetus to do this research?
Well, when you're Googling, you Google something and then you end up following a link and then another link and another link. Really, that's what was the start of it. I stumbled on an article by a woman called Rebecca Messenbeck, who is based in Australia. And she wrote an article about female breadwinners. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, this is really interesting. And when I read it, I thought, this is interesting. And I'm one. When I started my own business, my salary increased. And my husband, who'd been an accountant, salary decreased. He started working with young people, the naughty ones, and helping them through life, which is really a really great vocation, but not very well paid. And on paper, that doesn't seem like a problem, because my salary went up, his salary went down. So what? We're still both earning. But there's a lot around sort of expectations of men and women. And I realized that I hadn't really had a conversation with him about money, that it was sort of the elephant in the room, that I was making decisions about money because it was my money, and not having the conversation. And also just irritations, like my mother-in-law would come around and say, oh, well done, you've redecorated, or you've got a new car. And she'd always be patting him on the back and acknowledging my contribution. And I just thought, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of resentment, maybe there's a little bit of shame, maybe there's, these feelings that are not being resolved and not being explored. And it's like when you get a new car, you just see that car everywhere, suddenly. It was a bit like that for me in terms of female breadwinners. I suddenly realized I was one, and then I started thinking, I've got clients who say I'm in a role reversal relationship, or or some of my friends, I think, oh, well, maybe their partner doesn't earn as much as them actually, or their partner's retired, and we're not talking about the fact that we're the main earners. Women talk about everything, even talk about sex, all sorts of things, but we don't seem to talk about being the main earner. And so I thought I'd do some research on the topic. That's what I thought after realizing it. And one woman, an American woman, sent me back a message. I just asked through social media, are you the main earner, and how do you feel about it? And this woman came back and she said, I was the main earner for 3 years, and those were dark days in my life. I just thought, no one should feel like that about being the main earner. We as women should be able to celebrate it. We should be saying, yeah, we can earn the money, we can support our families. It shouldn't be the worst burden in our life. So that's when I decided to write the book. I did the research, thought it would be an article actually at first. I had so much research, and my coaching experience and my experience of going through it myself, that it ended up being Rocking Your Role.
And what are some of the greatest insights in terms of how to help women feel not only okay, but good about their new position, and how to find a harmony in their family?
Yeah, I think the first one is ditch the guilt. You know, for me, guilt is like this heavy handbag that a lot of women carry around with them, and the handbag's full of bricks, heavy bricks. So we're just all the time feeling guilt. You know, I'm not at work. Oh, I should be. I'm not at home. Oh, I should be. You know, I'm not going to the gym. Oh, I should be. And the first thing is to ditch the guilt. And I describe it as guilt is a set of rules that you create, that you decide you cannot break. And that's what guilt is. You know, it's these rules we've created, and then we decide we can't break them, and we feel bad about the fact we can't break them. You know, maybe I shouldn't, you know, I shouldn't be at work. I should be looking after my elderly relative, or you know, a good mum does this, or you know, whatever those rules are. And I encourage women to write down the rules they're living their life by. Think, where have those rules come from? Did you actually create them? Are they some, you know, person in your life, maybe a parent, maybe an important teacher, you know, in your life, who kind of shared their rules with you? You're living by them, but they're not appropriate for you. So write those rules down. Think about whose voice is saying them to you. Cross them through and rewrite the rules for your own life. And me, that's the way to start to alleviate that guilt. So getting rid of the guilt is one of the big ones. Also ditching the superwoman cape. You know, you can do it all. I can do it all, no matter what. You know, get the cakes ready for the bake sale, have my reports ready for work, you know, have my perfect house, you know, all of this stuff. Well, no one can do it all. Yeah, and you know, people can see, I think, our threadbare capes. You know, they've been through the wash and out the other side, and it's time to actually trust. Replace that being superwoman with trust. Trust that actually people can help and support you. Ask for that help and support, and empower others to help and support you. You know, you don't need to do it all. You don't need to do everything. Yeah, people might not do it as well as you. If you have a partner, maybe they don't cook the perfect nutritional dinner that you might have done. But if it doesn't kill you, it's probably not the end of the world. You know, if the bath's not, you know, the bathroom's not perfectly clean in the way you would have done it, it might not be shining and gleaming. Again, maybe you have to decide on different standards. And also, when you do empower people, sometimes they excel, and sometimes you find they're doing it better than you. You know, sometimes they, you let a partner loose in the kitchen, and they, you know, are creative with their culinary skills. And so there are many, you know, giving people the opportunity to support you is key. And I think sometimes we don't. We just think we need to be doing it all. So create the space to let other people help, and be prepared for them to step up and do so, and maybe even do it better.
Yeah, so it's an all-round invitation to empowerment, not only within, but around us too. What about relationships with our family and our children? How do you see that modifying itself also?
Yeah, well, I definitely advocate quality rather than quantity in terms of your time. You know, if you could be 24/7 with me, Sabine, we could spend weeks together. But if you're not really focused on me, I still haven't got the quality I need. Or you could give me a wonderful 20 minutes of your full presence and attention, and I would value that. Yeah. So for me, you know, to be truly listened to is a privilege in this day and age. We've got our smartphones, we've got laptops, we've got everything vying for our attention all the time. And if you can be truly present for someone, they'll appreciate that no end. So for me, it's not about, in terms of family, whether that's your partner or children or elderly relatives, or even just really good friends, give them quality. Don't worry, it's not enough in time. Just be there and be present for them. And I think it makes a huge difference. They notice Because if I was here just saying, oh, look, I've got to, I'm listening to you, Sabine, but I'm just sending a message, and, you know, you switch off, don't you? Yeah, you decide you're not going to fully engage with me. She's not really listening. But if I actually am there and I'm with you, even if I say I can only give you 20 minutes, that's so much better. So for me, it's about quality rather than quantity of time.
Are you a big time manager in that way? And what are some of your favorite tips and tools, perhaps, on managing our time?
Yeah, well, I definitely am boundaried around my time. And I know for some people, work is life and life is work. But for me, I have over the years found and what makes me happy in terms of time. So, for example, you know, networking, I said, is a big thing. If I went out 5 nights a week networking, I might have achieved things for my business, but for my family life, I would feel it's out of balance. And so and people ask a lot of me. They ask a lot of my time. So what I do now is I say I do a maximum of 2 nights a week for talks or networking, and I do only 3 weekends a year. And that's my rule. And I know that makes me feel good. You know, if I do something at the weekend, it's because I really want to. I really, you know, the person has really appealed to me, or something I really want to do. And the evenings, I know, do you know, I've got to 2 nights. I'm sorry, I just can't do that. I give myself permission to say no. I think, you know, that's something that all women need to do. Give ourselves permission to say no. So that's what I do around my time. I do try and be really focused, and I've got an app called Freedom on my Mac, which means that you can just stop yourself going onto the internet for certain amounts of time. It actually closes it down. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Sabine.
Heard of similar ones, yes.
Yeah. So it's a really good thing. So, you know, if I just want to focus without the beeping of my emails coming through, or the temptation to go and look at my social media, or even just to Google something, I just put my Freedom on, and I just say, well, I cannot do it. And that helps me focus my time. I'm also a big fan of the Pomodoro method, which is 25 minutes focus time, 5 minutes break, 25 minutes focus time, and so on. And that means that you know there's a break coming, and you're kind of timing the amount of time that you spend on things. So if I want to write blogs, you know, if I want to do some writing, I find that really helpful, or designing a training program. I find that really helpful because it just focuses me. I know there's a break coming, and I can just get up and go for a walk, have a cup of tea, rethink what I'm doing next. It just gives me that space, but it makes me focus as well. So those are a few things that I do.
Thanks for sharing. And it's really about finding what works for us. And
yeah.
I think you're opening the door to the concept and the importance of self-care.
Yeah, that's so important, the self-care aspect. You know, something women do is we give and give and give. You know, we're taught to do that. Be kind, think of others before ourselves. They're really actually wonderful qualities, amazing qualities. But actually what we need to do is, as you know, maybe other guests will say to you, nourish ourselves first. We need to have enough in our cup to give to others. And however we do that is really important. Something I encourage my clients to do is get a jar and just fill it with treats that they'd like to give themselves. So it might be a lovely bath with candles around it. It might be a nice walk in the country. It might be a full-blown spa or a retreat, or some time in a flotation tank, which is something that I do, which I find amazing. It might be a delicious afternoon tea. And I get them to fill their jar with all of these treats. And I say, reward yourself once a week with one of them. And that's a great way to do it, you know, just to actually put the rewards there and know that you are going to reward yourself with these different things. The other thing I say is diarize it. Yeah, because if you don't put it in the calendar, everything will fill your time and you won't do it at all. So actually put the space in your calendar, you know, for whatever it is, for the 1 hour bath, or the, you know, the 20-minute walk, or the catch up with girlfriends, which is so nourishing. You know, actually put it in your calendar and protect that time as really important. So those are a couple of things I think are really important. And actually, I'm running a retreat in January, in February, my first ever, and that's very much about that. It's about looking after you. It's about reflecting on yourself, your experience, and it's about propelling yourself forward. But using nature and actually some insight into yourself to move yourself forward. Unless we create space and time, we can't do that.
How much of a space in your own life does self-development take?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I can't help others unless I'm continually learning myself, and also putting myself in the place of the learner, because we forget really easily what it's like to learn. If you're not learning yourself, you forget what it's like to not know, what it's like to be taking in knowledge. So actually learning and self-development is a key part of my life. It has different forms. Sometimes it's being coached. Sometimes it's attending programs. Sometimes it's listening to podcasts. Sometimes it's reading books. Those are different ways in which I engage in learning. And they, at different times there'll be different things, but I love to learn. And whenever I go into a space of learning, it inspires me in order to help people more. So even if it's just a new blog that I write, or a new piece of a program that I'm developing, it helps me in my work. So it's so integral. I've made it so important, really, that it has to happen. And I love to be inspired by others and learn new things.
Now, we were speaking just a little bit earlier about children and how to interact with them in a more meaningful way. Now, you're the founder of Rocking Your Teens.
Yes, yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, yeah, that's been going 2 years now. I'm a partner, so there's a co-founder, so there are 2 other colleagues that we also created it. And I won an award in 2014. It was called Women's Coach of the Year. And I kind of stood on stage, in an emotional speech and said, well, I really want other people like me to know they can do anything. I started off life very humble beginnings in a council estate, which might be maybe like the projects, you might call it, in America. My mum was only 17 when she had me, so she was very young. And considering what I've achieved, those are the things that might not have been expected of me. It might have been expected of me to have a teen pregnancy myself, and maybe not work very much and not achieve the things I have. So I said, I want to do something for young people to inspire them and let them know that they have unlimited potential and they can do anything they want and surpass what I've done, And so, I came together with 2 colleagues, and we now run these teen conferences. They're hosted in corporate organizations who are, really kind to host us, big banks and big corporate organizations. And we have 200 teens at a time come in and be inspired by different speakers. They will share their life story, their lessons learned, insights into leadership and entrepreneurship, and also technology. How have they evolved with technology? And they've just been amazing. We advertise our conferences. Within a week, they're sold out. There's so much demand for them. And we only aim for the 13 to 14-year-olds. So what we want to do is catch them, not when they just start senior school, but when they're in between, before they start the serious stuff.
The big hesitation period.
Exactly. So they amaze me. They're so inspiring themselves. But we have great speakers, and all of our speakers are 30 and under. So they're, young enough still to interact with them. Yeah, not young enough to really inspire them. And, they're far away in what they've achieved, but not so far away in age that it doesn't feel possible.
Oh, that's a fantastic endeavor.
I love it. We want to do something with the US in the future, actually.
I was going to ask if you have any plans of expansion in that way.
Yeah, this year what we're going to do is live stream from a school in Europe with our conference to give them an insight into a different country. And the year after, we want to do something a bit more global. Yeah, so America, Africa, really build the connection so they know, what, we're different, but we're also the same. Yeah.
The internet just opens up doors like that. Now, we're coming into a new year, and I was wondering if you would have some inspiration for listeners on whether they're in the beginning stages of their solopreneur endeavor, or whether they're in a job but thinking of starting something on their own. How we've talked about how it's important to take it step by step. Could you start them off with some inspirational ideas?
Yeah, I think that you need to set some goals for yourself. I think that would be the thing I'd say, and stretch yourself, make them big, make them, make them really believable, in a way, sort of unbelievable, that, what if I could? I think set yourself some goals. I think that's the first thing you need to do. And then start taking a step back a little bit. Maybe that's my 5-year goal. So what would be, if I want to get there in 5 years, what do I need to do in a year? And maybe 6 months, and maybe 3 months, and then maybe today. And it could be, okay, so imagine I make underwear, for example. Well, I want my underwear to be in the biggest shop in my country, biggest store in my country. Okay, great. So what's the first thing we need to do? Well, maybe if I want to get there, I need to have a really strong brand. I need to have really good, strong quality product, and I need to be thinking about my customers, and maybe I need to get some celebrities wearing my underwear. So maybe I make sure my brand's really good. Maybe that's my first step. Maybe my second step is sending a pair of my pants out to everybody, all the celebs I know, and seeing if somebody will hold them up and talk about them. I don't know, but it's that sort of big step, and then breaking it down into the smaller steps so that you can start doing something today. Don't wait, do it today. And the other thing is that I found that especially creative people worry a lot about competition, and I think it holds you back. And the thing I really always say is, and it's not my quote, it's by David Grohl, no one is you, and that is your power. I think that's very important to know. Yeah, I'm a coach, I'm a leadership trainer. There are lots of coaches, speakers, and trainers out there, but no one's me. No one's had my experience. No one has my story. No one does it the way I do. And I think it's really about embracing your uniqueness and your power, and just saying, it's great that there's lots of other people doing this, because they'll be suited to whoever. But, I'm going to stay in my lane and find the people who want what I do. And I think that's the key thing that helps you feel confident in what you're doing, and stay on track. And people will be attracted to you, as I said, if you're focused and persistent.
Wonderful. And for those women who are listening today and who are in a job, but they have that calling inside of, I want to go on my own, but I don't know what my strength is. Some people will use purpose, but how do you invite them to start playing around with their strengths and who they are?
Yes. Yeah. The first thing I would definitely advise anyone to do is a values exercise, actually. I would invite them to understand what's really important to them in terms of what they stand for. And there are many values exercises on the internet, but if they ever wanted to email me, I'd be happy to send them one, but there are many. And then I think about, how do I put my values into action? So if my values are about being independent, for example, so I want to put that into action. Is it about helping other people to be independent? Is it about creating independence for a certain group of society? Is it about my financial independence? What does it mean, for example? And how do I want to action that? And I think when you think about putting your values into action, you start thinking about how you could experiment. So if it's for me about helping people be independent, maybe it's about helping women be independent. So how can I help women? Do I volunteer, in a church group, in a community group? Do I attend groups, women's groups, just so I can understand how important this is for other women and what they need? And I think, so for me, it starts at your values, and then you start thinking about how you can action them. And then you start thinking about experimenting. And also, I'd say talk to people from as many walks of life who do lots of different things to you, and just see how they traveled their journey. what it was that helped them, go on the way. This telesummit that you're doing is amazing. I'm sure it's going to inspire lots of women and help them think about actually, each person took a different route, did it a different way, has a different personality and a different energy, and they can be successful. So things like this are brilliant.
Thank you. And I think you really sum it up in the sense of going from the inside out, looking at our values, our strengths, and getting help from the outside to see them, because we often put so many limitations on how we see ourselves, and bringing it forward in a structured but also a discovery mode, as we were saying, about daring to break down our limitations, our guilt inside, and taking those small steps to start that discovery. Because in the end, I don't know if you'll agree with this vision that I have of being an entrepreneur as being a self-discovery more than anything else.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you find yourself and you evolve and grow, and your business evolves and grows. Absolutely. Where I am today is not where I thought I would be, and I have discovered strengths and qualities that I didn't know I had, and also discovered weaknesses that I didn't know I had as well. It's all been self-discovery.
Jenny, it's been a great talk. Thank you so much for joining us. And before we part, you're inviting our listeners to a 7-day invitation. Can you tell us about it, please?
Yeah, I have a wonderful 7-day audio, just 3 minutes a day, that gets delivered to your inbox. And you'll hear me speaking on many topics, things like confidence, developing your confidence, eliminating fear, and so many more. All the things that hold us back, and, and the things that we could embrace. Embracing gratitude is one of them. So they're great. People find them really inspiring. You can download them, listen to them on your iPod or on your phone or whatever, and carry them with you. They really make a difference. And if you're trying to make a change in your life, then that's the sort of thing you need a little bit of inspiration every day to keep you going.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Bye-bye.